Hello, good afternoon, welcome back. So we are doing another technique class. We're going to call it Technique Tuesday. So for those that don't know me, a very good afternoon. I'm Coach Katie in AbFab Fit Club. So we're going to focus on 3 exercises today. Now with those 3 exercises, it's going to be a crunch, it's going to be a deadlift, and we're also going to do a push press. So with your crunch, obviously this is a technique class. This is just for you to help really get and really focus on those maybe little tweaks that we can make, or little bit of changes, and then we can really get a really good workout. So our first of all, I always get asked this: how to activate your core. So how do you do this? Now, the best way to describe it is you literally need to suck everything in your torso area in. So when we do this, you want to make sure that obviously you can still breathe at a normal and how you usually normally do, but you want to do it so you're not really overstraining yourself. So you just want to imagine, the best way that I always say this, which you know loads of times, I always say, imagine you're on the beach, imagine the camera comes out, and imagine we're going to have a photo, and all of a sudden, what do? We tend to just go, and we just suck it in, don't we? So that's literally the same sort of way as keeping your core engaged. So I really want you to remember that. So when we say engage the core, you want to make sure we do this to protect our lower back. Now it's very common that if we are training, we can pull or we can hurt our lower back. So obviously engaging your core is going to be one way that we can avoid injuring ourselves. So how do we do that in the crunch position? Well, when you lay down, obviously as you know, your feet are hip width apart, lower back is to the floor. So if you are laying all the way down like this, for example, and there is a gap in between the mat and your back, we know now that if I, for example, did a crunch like this, I'm not going to attempt it because I'm not going to hurt myself, that I would be stressing and I would really be overextending, hyperextending that back. So to avoid that, we want to, in this position, find our neutral spine. So how can we do that, and what is our neutral spine? Basically our neutral spine is the balance in between. So you want to basically do some pelvis tilts. So push your pelvis down, and so your lower back gently just brushes onto the floor and bring it back up. And then you want to sort of find the middle area of that all. So once you find the middle area, there should be no gap between the mat and the back. Now you want to keep that nice and tight. So that's really engaging those abs. Remember, you can still breathe as normal. And then gently, you're just going to 1 foot at a time, place 1 foot, like so. Now, in that position, if your back has changed, you might need to quickly re-find your neutral spine. But you want to really, as I said, make sure you're sucking in that whole area. So you want to keep your torso nice and engaged. Now, when we also do our crunches, a lot of the time, I see people placing their hand behind their neck and they're yanking up using their necks. Now obviously that is going to cause some unnecessary strain and you're going to hurt yourself. So I always personally recommend having your hands by your temple. That way you won't use your neck to help you get up. If for any reason you need to place your hands behind your head, then you can, but I always say push your head back into the fingertips. So push your head back when you do it. That way, when you push your head back and your head's resting back, if you push your fingertips forward, it avoids you crunching and arching that neck and that back. So you want to make sure elbows are all the way back, hands by the temple I recommend. Now when we come up, as I said, you're sucking in that core. You want to keep that core nice and engaged. So even when we're here, we're still squeezing those abs. Now you want to look 45 degrees up. Well, you want to look at your knees and then look up towards the ceiling, whatever that is. And that's where your eye level is. And then you lower him back down. Now as you lower back down, you don't want to let go of the abdominal muscles. So I'll show you doing that full sit-up. So in the full sit-up way, when we come up, so when I come up here, I'm squeezing. Like I said, almost like I'm imagining that photo on the beach, I'm still squeezing those abs, and then when I lower down, I'm squeezing. So straight away my back's not done that. Now a lot of the times if we rush it, we can do this, and then look, notice when I go down, I'm slamming down vertebrae by vertebrae. That's going to roll and it's going to hurt our back. So to avoid that, that's why you suck the core in, keep it nice and tight, lower down. Even now, I'm still squeezing. Like I say, if I punched there, it would feel quite solid because I'm still squeezing and lowering back down. So now same principles with your crunch, elbows all the way back. If it hurts your neck, as I said, place your hands by your temple. Or another way which you can do this is you can fold the corner of your mats, hold the corner of each mat, lifting up and down, okay? You can also do that if you feel that's more comfortable. But let's go back to the crunch. So hands by the temple. And then notice, like I said, I've got my nice neutral spine. I'm coming up, I'm squeezing, and it's very important. A lot of the time I get asked when to exhale. So I exhale as I lift up. So I'm inhaling now, and then I'm going to lift up. So exhale. Still squeeze my core. You'll notice I'm shaking because I'm still squeezing my core. So I'm keeping it nice and tense. And as I lower down, inhale. Then as I come back up, exhale. Like so. And that is how you do the crunch. Now I hope that information helps. As I say, if you want to progress this to the sit-up, you can. Feet together, butterfly position, lifting up. Now when you do, you don't want to use your arms or your neck to get up. So you're using your abs. So we can tap back, use our abs. Woo! My feet come off a little bit then. And lowering back down. Obviously keep your feet on the floor. So keep your core nice and tight, lifting up, exhale, straight back, and inhaling straight back as we lower back down. Now you will find that if you have been doing this maybe incorrectly, that is going to be a lot more challenging for you. But that is the real technique of how you do your crunches. So remember what I said? This is kept nice and tight at all times, your whole torso area. As you come up, squeeze. Exhale as you lower down, squeeze. You should be arching or lowering back down. So hopefully that covers any questions on how to keep your core tight or how to do the sit-ups or the crunches. Now we're going to go straight into our next exercise as promised, the deadlift. I'm going to do a kettlebell because I get asked all the time, lower back is hurting. Why is this when I do a deadlift? So remember, if anytime you use any of your weights, you need to deadlift to pick them up. So that's bending your knees like so. If you do this without a straight back, you're going to put pressure like so. Look, if I go up like this with an arch back, I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to hurt myself, and yank up straight away, look how bad that's going to hurt my back. So you need to make sure core nice and tight. How do we do that? Remember, suck it in, keep it nice and rock solid, bringing it down, deadlifting and bring it up. So that's always however you pick up any equipment. I don't care if it's 2 kg, I don't care if it's 1 kg, always pick up your equipment like that, deadlift. Now, how to actually do the deadlift. So, I'll do it without a weight just so you can see. So you want to put your feet hip width apart. Now you want to go down simultaneously. You want to keep your chest up. So your shoulder blades are all the way back. So imagine you've got a pencil in between your shoulder blades. Now again, as I mentioned, keep your core nice and tight. So squeeze that whole area. Now you want to really try, and it does work your back a little bit, the deadlift. So you will feel it a tiny bit, but you shouldn't be feeling it painfully. So that's the difference. If you get back pain, you know it's because you may be going down with the incorrect techniques. This is what this is all about. So when we go down, it's kind of like a hip hinge. You want a slight flexion. It is a straight leg deadlift, but there's always a flexion. So a slight flexion in the knees. You never lock out. You don't want to be like this. So many times I see people go down like this and they pull back up, and also their head's up all the way there. Forget that, forget that, forget that. I want you all to make sure you're doing your deadlifts correctly. So this is just for a straight leg deadlift. So hinging from the hips, soft flexion. You want to go down, look, so notice straight away, I'm tilting the pelvis back. So I'm not using my lower back. I'm not going like this. I'm using from my pelvis, tilting back, my chest is kept up and my neck's nice and in line. So I'm looking ahead because I'm about to go down. Now when I'm going down, straight away my eyes are tilting. Down, they're looking towards the floor, and then they're coming back up. And as I come up, I squeeze, 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 squeeze. Very important, you don't thrust. So many times we see this. Do not thrust. Let me get that in the head. Do not thrust. If you thrust, you're going to put extra strain on your lower back. That's just going to do no good. Look, that's not going to help anyone. So you just need to make sure you're coming up but using your glutes. So as you go down, then notice from here, I'm pushing the weight into the back of my heels, and then as I come up, I'm using my hamstrings and my glutes to come up, squeeze, 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 really activate. So I'm really activating and building that muscle on the booty. So let's do this now with some weights, so deadlifting your equipment. Now the stiff leg or straight leg deadlift or Romanian deadlift, whatever you want to call it, shoulder blades all the way back, chest up, remember. As you go down, you're going down simultaneously with your, as your hips extend and your arms. So your arms are straight, but there's a slight little, they're not locked out, slight little flexion. So you go down, looking down, and then as you come up, squeeze, 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 look ahead. Make sure the back isn't like so, shoulder blades, you need to have a nice gap between your back and, between your shoulder blades and your ears. You shouldn't be all tensed up. So that was the straight leg deadlift. My next one, as I said to you, which we're going to do, is going to do the push press, because in today's class I noticed a lot of this. A lot of this was happening in the push press, and I'm going to do it with dumbbells. But I might do it without, because I don't want to hurt myself. So, in today's class, if you haven't done it, honestly, it's a really good one. But when we did this, I noticed a lot of this. Push, press. Now look at that. That is just your vertebrae, it's just gonna hurt, and you're gonna get lower back pain, you're gonna be out of injury, you're gonna be injured, you're gonna be out of action for a bit, you won't be able to do classes. So to avoid that, again, engage your core. Any exercise you do with us, engage your core. Run on the spot, jumping jacks, anything, suck it in, engage that core. Now, you want your elbows in that front squat position like you would in a front squat, okay? So elbows in this position. You want to push the weight into the back of your heels, soft knees. Now when you do this, it's a push press. So it's not a squat, it's the tiniest quarter fraction of a squat. So push, press. Notice my head went slightly, so if I had a bar, if I had the big bars, barbells, I'd go forward and my head would do that, and then I'd come back, okay? So now with our dumbbells, we need to really ensure we're not thrusting and overextending and getting that C shape in our back. We don't want that. So we're deadlifting our equipment, keeping our tummy muscles nice and tight, elbows up like so, push the weight into the back of your heels, looking ahead, pushing, push, press, okay? That's all you need to do. So I'll just show you from the side, feet heel width apart, arms in line with the elbows in line if you can. Don't have them down here, get them a little bit up, core tight, push, press, okay? And then you come down. So make sure when you do this, and then lowering down, make sure you're squeezing your back. So I'll just show you, can't really see, but when you do this, squeeze your back here. So squeeze, 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 squeeze as you lower down. There's no point doing this if you're not squeezing your back. So you need to keep your elbows up, push, press, squeeze, 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 squeeze. So then that way, when you're squeezing all your muscles in your upper back. And then you're going to really, really get a really good, more benefit. You might even be able now to get more of muscle growth because you're doing it the correct way. I just don't, like I said, want to see any of you arching that back. So just key points to remember from today. If anyone's got any questions, please do say. We want to keep our core nice and tight throughout all exercises. So I taught you crunches, sit-ups, straight leg deadlifts. Remember, you'll actually probably get a more of a booty workout, and like obviously you will, but you'll probably see more growth and more toned bottoms doing it in the correct way, squeezing your glutes as you come up. And then the last one was the push press. Now that was Technique Tuesday with Katie. Woo! If anyone has any questions, I'll give it about 10 or 5 seconds. Just type them in the chat. If not, I'll post this on the IGTV, and you're more than welcome to practice. I can give you homework throughout this lockdown. Have a little bit of a practice. All right? In that case, I can't see anyone type in. So, well done. Keep your core tight. And I'll see you next Tuesday for 3 more exercises, which we are going to focus on and practice on. Have a good one.